and Caitlin have played together, so they have this synergy, and really with DB and with Tosh, like how we bring them into the fold, so to speak, and that's a challenge that we're looking into. We're trying to figure out, shorter stints because it was an up and down game.
She hasn't tried to be anything other than what she is, and that's exactly what we need. She obviously spaces the floor for us. She makes tough buckets.
Fever coach Stephanie White's decision to freeze out her star in the clutch didn't just raise eyebrows, it lit a match under the fan base. Let's talk about what really went wrong. You've got Caitlin Clark, the face of your franchise, the reigning Rookie of the Year, and the leading scorer of the night, absolutely cooking. She had 27 points, 11 assists, and was the floor general all game long.
I'm proud of our fight, the toughness that we showed, our ability to stay together. Our bench was really engaged in every timeout and in every huddle. We were all engaged.
Her shooting, on point. Her passing, surgical. Her leadership, unquestionable. Now let's contrast that with who took the final shot. Natasha Howard, who had just 6 points and was 3 for 9 on the night. That's not to disrespect Howard. She's a valuable veteran, a former All-Star, but in that moment, Clark was the weapon. She was the one demanding double teams. She was the one bending the defense.
Dug themselves into an early hole here. Clark looking to get going. Oh, that's a deep three!
And yet, when it mattered most, the ball went to someone who hadn't found a rhythm all night. This wasn't a blowout. It wasn't garbage time. It was the final 10 seconds of a one-point game. Every coach in the world knows you go with your best. Your hot hand, you're closer. And Clark wasn't just height. She was scorching. The numbers don't support the call, and the fans know it. That's why the outrage hit fast and hit loud. Of all the decisions that could have been made, making Caitlin Clark the inbounder was the one that made the least sense to fans. Because inbounders don't control the play, they're reacting. They don't get the shot, they're feeding someone else. In the final seconds when you need a bucket, you give the ball to your closer. You give it to the one who's been torching defenders all night. But Clark? She was standing out of bounds, watching. The idea, maybe, was that she'd pass it in and get it back. But that didn't happen. Instead, the ball went to Howard, who had her shot blocked, got it back, and missed again. End of game, end of momentum, end of discussion. Except it wasn't the end, because fans weren't letting this one slide. They flooded social media. They questioned the judgment. They wanted to know why the most electric player in the WNBA wasn't even given a chance to make a play. And the truth? There's no good explanation. There's no stat, no tactic, no playbook that says, leave your star guard on the sideline in the clutch. That's why it blew up. Let's be real. Coaching comes with pressure. That's part of the gig. But what Stephanie White experienced after the Fever's 91-90 loss to the Dream? That wasn't just pressure. That was an eruption. It started the second the final buzzer sounded. Fans flooded X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, anywhere they could speak. And they weren't quiet. They weren't questioning. They were furious. One comment that captured the mood said it best. The worst shooter on the floor takes the final shot, while your star guard stands out of bounds? Fireable offense. Another one read, I'm not even mad we lost. I'm mad that the team was betrayed by its own coach.
If at all, I felt like we let them move the ball wherever they wanted to. We had a lot of breakdowns in our coverages. We weren't really helping one another out. We played like 5 individuals defensively at times instead of collectively as a unit. And good teams take advantage of that. Atlanta was really good at getting downhill. They knocked down some tough shots, but when you dig yourself a hole, it makes it really difficult to use all your energy to come back.
Let's not act like this was a standard tactical error. This wasn't a missed timeout. This wasn't a defensive misread. This was a full-blown snub of the best player on the court that night, Caitlin Clark. And the fans saw it as just that, a coach not trusting her star. The backlash only grew louder when high-profile voices joined in. Dave Portnoy's tweet, "Somebody explain to me why Caitlin Clark was inbounding. That's not just bad, it's insane." Whether you love or hate Portnoy, his reach is massive, and his take echoed the collective WNBA audience's rage. But this outrage is deeper than a single play. It's about a growing fear among Fever fans.
BB was outstanding. She battled, for what, 36, almost 37 minutes. And BG and Bree Jones are two of the best bigs in our league. I thought she did an outstanding job, and we got to learn and grow from it.
That Stephanie White may not be ready to build around Clark the way she needs to. There's a disconnect between what fans see, a generational superstar, and what the coach is signaling in her play calling. And when that disconnect goes public like this, it creates tension not just in the fan base, but in the locker room. Players talk, coaches talk, leadership gets questioned. If Clark isn't the go-to in crunch time, who is? And what message does that send to your young core? White now finds herself in a tough position, not just because fans are calling for answers, but because her credibility is now on trial. One bad decision can be forgiven. A pattern of sidelining your superstar? That becomes a legacy. It's time to say it plainly. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player on the Fever. She is the Fever. She's the reason ticket sales exploded. She's the reason national broadcasts are flocking to WNBA games. She's the reason analysts who hadn't watched women's basketball in years are now chiming in daily. Caitlin Clark is the league's biggest draw, and for Indiana, she's the heartbeat of this franchise. So how does your franchise player not take the final shot? That's the question that's burning through every Fever fan's mind right now. And it's not about ego, it's about roles. Clear, defined, championship-level roles. Because in elite sports, your star isn't just a scorer, they're the closer. They're the one you trust when the game is on the line. The one who can walk into a timeout huddle and say, "Give me the ball, I got this." And everyone nods. Clark has that energy, that aura, that ability. She's proven it at Iowa. She's already shown flashes of it in the WNBA. And yet, when it mattered most against Atlanta, she was turned into a bystander. That's more than just a tactical misstep. That's a failure of identity. How do you build a culture around a player? Hype her up as the next face of women's basketball, and then treat her like a role player when the lights are brightest. This isn't about undermining teammates. It's about understanding what stars are meant to do. Look around the league. Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. They all get the ball in crunch time. Why? Because their teams have clearly defined roles. That's what winning franchises do.
But like I said, it was just flat. We missed free throws. We missed layups. We didn't really execute. They were physical. And I think that was kind of why it didn't feel as smooth as we would have liked there.
And if Indiana wants to become that kind of franchise, they need to define Clark's role right now. No more excuses. No more team-first play calls that hide the fact you've iced your best asset. Clark should be initiating that final possession every single time. Period. This game wasn't just a missed opportunity on the scoreboard, it was a missed opportunity to send a message. We trust our star. And unless that message is corrected quickly, the trust between the team and its fan base will start to break. Here's the truth no one inside the Fever organization can ignore anymore. This moment will define the rest of the season, not just because of the outcome, but because of the fallout. This is the kind of moment that sticks. That becomes a reference point. If the Fever lose another close one and Clark isn't featured in the final play again,
Christy Sides got crucified last year in the media, and I don't want that for Stephanie White, but the way it's looking, man, that could strongly be a possibility if she don't do what's right by Caitlin Clark and her attributes. To me, Caitlin Clark is best when she got the ball in her hand and she can facilitate the floor. Players get open, make cuts, and do what they got to do, bro. I just got to keep it real.
expect the outrage to double. If they're winning games but still treating Clark like a decoy instead of a leader, it won't sit right with fans. And more importantly, it won't sit right with Clark. Because yes, she's a team player. Yes, she's humble. But don't get it twisted. Caitlin Clark is a killer competitor. She didn't come to the WNBA to be a glorified playmaker. She came to win. She came to lead. And if her own coaching staff keeps treating her like she needs to earn those moments instead of owning them, that's a problem. It's also a branding issue for the WNBA. They've leaned hard into Clark as a symbol of the league's next chapter. She's on posters, commercials, highlight reels, and rightly so. But if she keeps getting benched metaphorically in crunch time, it creates a disconnect between the hype and the reality. That damages everyone's investment in the product. For Indiana, this is a crossroads moment. They can pretend it's just one play, or they can treat it like the wake-up call it is. They need to sit down, recalibrate, and come back with a new late-game identity. One where the final seconds are about precision, not panic. One where Caitlin Clark has the ball in her hands. Always, because if they don't fix this, they're not just losing games, they're losing trust. And in pro sports, once you lose that, you're not chasing titles, you're chasing relevance.
It challenges our mental and physical fortitude. You know, one of our core values is mental toughness. We have to be able to lock in, and I thought we showed great mental toughness in our game yesterday, and our ability to stay locked into the moment.